Hello everyone. I have a puzzle here today that you've never seen something like this before. At least I doubt that you did. This is white to play, but the challenge is that as white, you need to force black to checkmate you within 4 moves. And black doesn't want to. So they're going to do everything in their power not to checkmate, and you need to force an unwilling black to give checkmate to you. So yeah, crazy stuff. I'll explain what this even is about. I'll explain the context. While I do so, I'd give you a chance maybe to think about this, because this is, yeah, very weird, strange puzzle, not something that you probably are familiar with. So what is this even coming from? Well, this is a puzzle that came from an Advent of Chess event that happened this last month. It happens every December. And essentially, there's 24 days, the first 24 days before Christmas, and in each day there's a puzzle like this, where it's not just a maiden three or your typical chess puzzles, but it's puzzles that really force you to think out of the box and find very unusual solutions to. And so in the video today, we're going to look at 5 of the puzzles that occurred in this December Advent of Chess. By the way, there was a challenge going where the winner, and by winning, you basically every puzzle you get right is a ticket into a raffle, and in the end, the raffle occurs, and the winner gets a signed chessboard by Magnus Carlsen. So I waited to see the raffle just to make sure that this wouldn't be a happier video than it is. It's not. I didn't win. But still, the puzzles are cool, and I wanted to share them with you. So coming back to the puzzle at hand, it is, again, white to play, and within 4 moves, white plays 4 moves, and then black plays fourth move, with the fourth move being a checkmate. Try to figure out what you want to do here. I'd pause the video. I mean, some of these puzzles can take like close to hours to solve, right? These are difficult puzzles. So if you're down for it, pause the video in the end, comment how many of these 5 you get correct. But let's jump into the solution. So the trick here is to box in the king. So every time that the king has an area where it can escape to, you want to shut that off. So here the king can run over here. So you're going to stop that by promoting to a knight and making sure that that doesn't occur. Now, the broad idea that white has is to promote a knight, bring the knight to g6, and then force black to take it, because that would be indeed a checkmating scenario. So black's going to play their only move, e3, and now you begin with that. So you put the knight here. They're going to go e5, e4, sorry, only move, but now the king can escape to e5, but knight to g6 stops that escape route. Now, again, they're not going to take and give you the satisfaction of checkmate. They're instead going to push e5, and now they're making another escape route. So what you have to do is promote to a third knight to stop that, and now with every escape covered, with no other legal move, black is forced to take the knight and deliver checkmate. Again, crazy stuff. It's possible you didn't even understand the rules. That happened to me a couple of times during this month, because some of the rules and the things that you are tasked with doing are extremely unique and creative. Okay, so with that first puzzle out of the way, let's now jump to this one here. This is the second puzzle that I want to show. It was really creative and unique as well. This time, both sides are working together. So I'm going to paste the entire instructions, just if my explanation is a bit confusing, so you can also have that to reference. But essentially, both sides are working together. Both sides will play 5 moves, black starting, and the final move for white needs to be checkmate on black. And again, they're working together to deliver this scenario. So I'd urge you to pause the video. Also, it's understandable if you're not trying to spend hours on this video and you kind of just want to enjoy the nice solutions. If that's the case, I totally understand. And so we're going to go ahead and delve in to the solution. Pause the video if you'd like more time. So the first move is king h3. And the general idea is bringing the king as close up the board as you can, where there's just generally more pieces, and therefore mate is more likely to be possible in some configuration. So queen e5, this is the key move, the special move, the move that took me an obnoxious amount of time to find. And the idea now is that after, black takes the queen, you're going to promote to another one, but the point is this pawn becomes very useful. The king is now marching up, and when you get the other queen, the pawn now serves as an obstruction to the king's escape, and therefore mate is possible just like this. Okay, here's the next one. So this time you're starting from the starting position, which at least is somewhat of familiar territory. And in this case, what you need to do is white will play 9 moves, black will also play 9 moves, both sides will play 9 moves, and you need to transform this position into this one here. So in a sequence of 9 moves from both sides, how do you take the starting position and transform it into the one that you see on the screen right below me? Okay, guys, so how do you even approach a puzzle like this? Um, that's a good question, and it took me a while to grasp at this one here. The idea, and I think the easiest way to do this is to play a comparison game. So look at the starting position and figure out what changes for both sides. On white side, the only pawn or piece that disappears is this e pawn, right? And so you know that this pawn is at some point gonna march up and dissipate in some way. Now, in the black side, this pawn transforms and puts itself on f6, and that's the only unique difference, because the b6 move, for example, the bishop coming to b7, those are all natural things that can happen with black kind of on black's own agency or terms, but the moving of the pawn to f6, that requires some help from white, because you need something on f6 that black will capture. Now, again, um, it cannot be the f pawn. The f pawn doesn't move from f2. It cannot be any other pawn, because no other pawn, just by marching up, can move itself, move the black pawn from e7 to f6, right? So even the e pawn cannot do the trick. So it seems impossible, right? The e pawn is seemingly the only pawn that moves, but it needs to somehow move the pawn to f6. But here's where the brilliance of this puzzle comes into play. You bring the queen out, and the queen's going to have the task of dragging the pawn to f6. Now, that seems a bit counterintuitive, because wait a minute, the queen ends up still remaining on the board. So how does this work? Well, this is again where the genius of the puzzle comes into play. This pawn ends up promoting to another queen, just like this. It brings itself back to the starting position, and the bishop, as the final move, tucks itself on b7, and we've done it. So a couple, yeah, really interesting things to note here. First of all, the assumption that every other piece for white does not move is something you have to break, right? You can force yourself to think outside of the box and get rid of your queen and then promote the e pawn to another one. Also, this king circle was really interesting and difficult for me to find, because originally I thought that it had to be a case of bringing the queen out, sliding the king back, and then bringing the queen back. But that doesn't end up working with the tempo, because the queen ends up obstructing the pawn, and the tempo here matters, right? You need to play this quickly. Nice, yeah, this one was a nice one. Definitely a little tricky. Okay, guys, this is possibly one of my favorite ones from the entire 24 set. Essentially, this is the situation. You're playing mirror chess. What that means is that if you play knight c3, they're going to have to play knight c6. If you play d4, they're going to play d5. And playing this mirror chess, you need to checkmate black in 6 moves. So as white, you're playing 6 moves, black's going to play 5, and you need to checkmate black with a rook, right? And an original rook, not one that you promote, is also emphasized in the question. Now, a couple extra rules just to clarify a bit if you're trying to solve this on your own. Um, One thing to keep in mind, for example, after d4, d5, um, if you play queen d2, queen d7, g5, g4, and then you take the queen, they can no longer mirror you. That is something to keep in mind. Until the final move, which is checkmate, you cannot play a move which your opponent cannot mirror, right? So obviously, when you play checkmate, they can't legally play checkmate too. But until that moment, every move has to be a mirror. Okay, so take some time, think about this one. I think this one's very satisfying, because once you finally get the solution, it looks very appealing, and it looks difficult to do it at first glance with just 6 moves. Here's the idea. One thing you might be thinking about is, okay, like h4, h5, and then like bringing the rook out and trying to mate, but that takes too much time to clear the h file or to bring out the rook like this. What you want to do instead is not move any one of your pawns, and instead, this is just, by the way, so beautiful. Bring the knight to g5, knight g4, take on h7 with the knight, and this is how you clear the h file. And then you're going to take the bishop, you're going to then take the knight, they're mirroring everything, and on the 6th move, you have mate. Yeah, Very, very nice. I'll note there are some alternatives. Obviously, you don't have to start with knight h3. You could do f3 as well and f6. Also in the final position, instead of king takes here, you could also bring your knight out um, to here, for example, to e6. They're going to go knight e3, and then it's still mate. So there's some variations, but the basic idea of using the knight to clear out the h file through mirroring, through black mirroring you, I think was very nice, and kind of once you saw that, it opened up your mind, and you can find the solution. Okay, this takes us to the last problem that we're going to look at today. By the way, if you like these kind of offbeat puzzles, then let me know. There's many more of them from this year, and also we can delve into the previous years that this challenge occurred. But yeah, this is the final problem for today. It is white to move here, and the trick here is the following. And the reason the board looks a bit different is because here you're tasked with taking a white pawn, this pawn right here, and moving it anywhere on the board that you'd like. And after you place it somewhere, let's say you place it on b2 for some reason, after you place it somewhere, you need to give a checkmate in 2 moves, right? So it's going to be your move after you place the pawn anywhere, and then in 2 moves you need to checkmate black. Um, By the way, there are 4 solutions for this puzzle, and you need to find all 4 of them. So all 4 places where you place the pawn, right? So that could be like on g3, on e2, on c3, and on h5. And then with each one of those 4 squares, you also need to provide the maiden 2 that follows from that. Okay, kind of complicated. Here's the solution. Pause the video if you'd like some more time. This is the starting position. You need to take a pawn, put it somewhere 4 times, and mate in 2. Okay, so here's the 4 mates, and I really like this one just because of it's very satisfying, and there's some nice symmetry. So the first square is b7, and the move is promoting to a knight to guard this square, force the king away, and then there's mate on h6. Promoting to a queen or a rook would not allow you to mate as quickly as promoting to a knight would. Okay, so this is the first square, promote to a knight. Second square is here, and this time you promote to a rook. And after the king is forced to move, this is mate. Again, promoting to a queen in this case would actually be stalemate, which is why you cannot do it. Kind of nice. Solution 3 is this pawn right here, and this is the time where you do promote indeed to a queen with check, and mate will follow regardless as to where the king moves. And the final answer is here. And guys, we looked at a knight, we looked at a rook, we looked at a queen. The bishop is the fastest mate and the only solution when you place the pawn on e7, because it cuts the square without being stalemate that a queen would have been, right? That's the difference. And after the king moves, rook h6, mate. Yeah, really nice puzzle, I think, to finish it off. With these 4 squares being the solutions, and promoting to a knight, to a rook, to a queen, and to a bishop being the 4 fastest mates that you can find. Okay, guys, that will conclude. By the way, I did want to mention how I did on this challenge. Obviously, I didn't win the board, as I mentioned. There were 3 puzzles that stumped me that I couldn't find the solution to, so I got 21 out of the 24 puzzles. On a different video, if you'd like, if you enjoy these sort of puzzles, let me know down below. And on a different video, I'd be very happy to share the 3 annoying puzzles that I couldn't solve in the time frame that was given. So let me know what you think of this sort of type of puzzles and type of video in general down below. Subscribe if you are new around here, like the video if you learned something new from it, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.